Welcome everyone to the second annual Omer Aliyah, a 7-week spiritual boot camp of personal elevation, or simply known as TOA. This is the second class of our 7-class empowerment series. My name is Nuriel Shor, and in partnership with Hashem, I am the founder of the Omer Aliyah. Welcome to participants from the United States, Canada, Israel, England, Australia, and Uganda, who have joined us on this journey of holy transformation and spiritual evolution. The vision is for all Jews of all backgrounds around the world to be part of a global movement of revealing our individual and collective greatness through Sfirat HaOmer, the counting of the Omer. I'd like to take this moment to recognize and thank our very generous sponsors. Without the partnership of these individuals, this initiative could not be sustainable, and simultaneously it allows for all participants to participate in this totally free of cost. So thank you very much to our sponsors, and simultaneously thank you to our various community partners for being involved with this initiative, for helping to spread the word. And as I've mentioned before, and I'll say it again, this is for every single Jew. And so any Jewish organization that is interested in this initiative, in this content, independent in denomination and background, is welcome to be an official partner. If anybody would like to connect me to prospective sponsors or community partners, they can email me at omeraliyah@gmail.com. The mission of the Omer Aliyah is to serve as a spiritual detox of the klipot, the barriers that are preventing us from accessing Hashem and our highest selves, while simultaneously building a foundation of spiritual power. Practically speaking, the essence of the Omer Aliyah is tikkun hamidot, repairing, refining, and elevating our character attributes based on the lower 7 sfirot, which correspond to these 7 weeks. By emulating these divine attributes, we transform into conduits of peace, love, and blessing for ourselves, for others, and for all of creation. The structure of the bootcamp consists of 4 in-person community gatherings in Los Angeles, 7 virtual empowerment classes taught by 7 incredible teachers, and 49 days of individual learning and growth. For more information on the Omer Aliyah, or to start your own local TOA community wherever you are in the world, email me at omeraliyah@gmail.com. We are currently in the week of Gevurah, and we have the zechut of having Rabbi Mendel Simons. Rabbi Simons is the founder of Young Jewish Professionals of Los Angeles, which has inspired thousands of Jews to draw closer to their heritage. YJP strives to create a community in which professionals and entrepreneurs can support each other's careers, take ownership over the well-being of their Jewish brothers and sisters, all the while building a stronger connection to the Jewish experience. This class, which is taking place on Yom HaShoah, is dedicated to all who perished in the Holocaust. May their memories be a blessing, and may their neshamot have an aliyah. Before we begin, a few housekeeping remarks. This class is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Omer Aliyah YouTube channel, so please hold all your questions and comments until after the class finishes. I will then stop the recording, after which we'll have an opportunity for open and confidential conversation with Rabbi Simons. May Hashem bless the Omer Aliyah and all who are involved, so that Klal Yisrael may discover the greatness within and bring about individual, collective, and global Geula speedily in our days. I now hand the class over to you, Rabbi Simons.
Thank you very much for having me. Hello, everyone. It's a joy and a privilege to be here. We're going to talk about Gevurah. Nuriel asked me to speak about Gevurah, which is the second. I think it's interesting that you asked me to speak about Gevurah. Maybe it's one of my harder ones to master in my life. I think everybody has kind of more natural tendencies towards different emotions and different faculties in their life. So I'm going to take a unique approach today and talk about it within the context of love and respect. So to give some background to it, Chesed, which is the first of the 7 emotions, of the 7 faculties, Chesed is giving, is love, is kindness. It's the part of us that gives. Gevurah, on the other hand, is the part of us that restrains that constricts, that channels. Without Gevurah, each one of them we need a balance of. So we need a balance of chesed and Gevurah, a balance between the two. If you have all chesed, and without any restriction, without any restraint, without any channeling of that energy, so then what you end up is just all love and all giving without any direction, without any sense of purpose, without any sense of channeling. On the other hand, if you had all Gevurah, if you had an abundance of Gevurah, of discipline, of restraint, of restriction, but not enough chesed, you can imagine that could also not serve you very well. But I want to, as I said before, I'm going to talk about Gevurah within the context of love versus respect. Love being the more chesed giving side, and respect being the other side, helping you balance out and channel your love. So there's a saying in the Talmud, one of those sayings that when I was explained years ago as a student, it made sense, at least in words it made sense, but you never truly, at least myself, I'll speak for myself, I never truly understood what it meant, what they were trying to say, until a mentor of mine, a Kabbalist, finally explained it to me. And the saying goes, Hakol bidei shamayim chutz miyir shamayim. Everything is in the hands of heaven, except for what? For one's awe of heaven. Okay? So, for example, if I have a huge chuppah tomorrow, I'm a singer, and a rabbi at a chuppah, I very often do chuppahs. And let's say I'm expecting to sing, and I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm throwing up and I'm sick. That's not in my hands. That's in the hands of heaven. Whether your alarm clock goes off or not, or whether your flight is canceled, whether you plan this class, and all of you show up or nobody shows up, that's not in your hands. Well, obviously some of it is, but you get what I'm saying here. Whether somebody drank all the orange juice and put the carton back in the fridge with only a drop back in it, these things are not in our hands. They're in the hands of heaven. I don't control those things. They're outside of myself. What I do control is, what am I in control of? How I feel about reality, the things that are going on around me. So in other words, God is controlling and orchestrating all the details in my life. I'm in control of how I feel about my life. Okay? So a healthy person wakes up and says, Modani, thank you, God, for existing, for returning my soul, for giving me another day in this world, for having life. And from that grateful paradigm, does he or she go out into the world and go about their day and their mission? An unhealthy person wakes up without an identity, without a sense of purpose, and says, world, come and validate me. Let me know if I count. So what happens is, the first person who doesn't smile at me the way I expected, boom, right there, out the door, takes a chunk out of my ego. And so I'm going about my life trying to get an identity. And it's really not fun to be around me when I'm in that space, when I'm in that mode. Because you see me coming and your sense in your gut is that I'm taking from you an identity. I want you to validate me. I want you to let me know that I'm okay. So it's exhausting to be around a person like that, who's looking for your existence to make them matter, to make them count. Because, have you ever had someone be kind to you and then you didn't realize that they had sent you an invisible invoice in the mail? They're mad at you because you didn't pay it. It's like, you didn't know that when I took out the garbage without being asked, you're supposed to come and then validate me and tell me how wonderful I am, right? You didn't know that I was seeking an identity when I did that kindness towards you. So the only way to get out of this dysfunction is to have an identity that is independent, first of all, of what other people think of you. To have an identity that is independent of how my life goes. So that's the premise I want to start with. Now I'm going to move this over to how this ties into love and respect. So I think love has ruined us. There, I said it. What I mean by that is, love is something that is about doing something for somebody else. And it can be a beautiful thing if you're doing it for fun and for free. altruistically, with no needs, no strings attached. When someone with a true sense of self, an autonomous sense of self, gives to you, that's pleasurable because they're not asking for you to give them strokes in return for their display of love. Okay? But because love is giving, it's a move toward your beloved. It can be sometimes invasive in your face, as opposed to the opposite emotion, respect, where you back off. So love is a move towards, respect is a move away from your beloved. So we hear a lot about love in this world. And it's probably one of the biggest lies of our generation when we say love is all you need. You got to love yourself. You can't love others until you love yourself, which is all true. But we never talk about respect, or at least nowhere near as much as we talk about love. And then we find ourselves in the drama of a dysfunctional relationship, and things start to go wrong. And what's the first thing that we do when something goes wrong in a relationship? What's the gut reaction? I've got to do something. What do I need to do to restore order to this relationship? And you know what? Is it possible that sometimes the best advice is don't just do something, but sit there? I'm spinning that on its head, that saying. So it's counterintuitive. It's like, I want to do something. Besides, I don't look cool. I don't look good when I'm not doing something. Nobody ever said, like, look at me not give. It's more like, look at me, look what I've done, look what I've given to other people. It's so much more fun to be the giver than it is to be the one who backs off. In other words, love is a lot more exciting than respect. So here's the thing. If you've got to have just one of them, and obviously you need a balance of them too, but I'm going to go to the extreme just to kind of bring out my point today. If you've got to have just one of them, first you need to have respect, then comes love. So, in other words, without respect, there is no love. Love without respect is not real love. It's giving in order to get. So, when someone's giving in order to get, you'll often find them saying, did I give good? How do you like how I gave? What's my score? Right? That's giving in order to get. So I like to simplify. So let me try to simplify this concept with some example. I'm driving home from work one night and I'm tired and I want to go straight home. And the phone rings and it's my wife. And she says to me, honey, did you pass 3rd Street yet? I say, no. And she says, okay, good. Can you do me a favor? Can you please stop at Ralph's and get me some of that peanut butter zigzag cookie dough ice cream that I love? And I say, sure, honey. That's example number 1. And I'm going to call this example an example of love. Okay? Example number 2, and I'll explain in a minute. I'm driving home, same scenario. I'm driving home late one night. And this time I'm thinking about the Chalav Yisrael vanilla ice cream that I'm going to pick up that's available at 24/7 at a 7-Eleven near my house. No, they didn't sponsor this, but I'm just telling you about it. And I'm going to pick this up on my way home. And the kids are going to be asleep. And I'm going to get into a pair of sweats and sit on the couch and I'm going to watch some comedy while I devour that ice cream and just have some time to myself. This time the phone rings. I'm in the car. My wife again. She says, are you on your way home? I said, yes. She says, do me a favor. I need you to come home right away. The kids have been, the baby's not well. I need your help as soon as possible. So I say, yes, dear. The second example is an example of respect. In the first scenario, I wanted to go home. She asked me to stop and go out of my way for her. Okay? That's love. I'm giving to her. In the second scenario, I wanted to go to the store for myself. And she says, can you come straight home? So I withhold, I restrain, and I go home. Because love is what I do for you. Respect is what I don't do because of you, because of my respect for you. Okay? So which do you think might be a bigger intimacy breaker? If I fail to do the things that I'm supposed to do for you, or if I go ahead and do the things that I'm supposed to not do because of my respect for you? You understand the question? I'm going to repeat it. Which do you think is a bigger intimacy breaker? If I fail to do the things I'm supposed to do for you, or if I go ahead and do the things that I'm supposed to not do because of my respect for you? Okay? It's the same model with God. We have 613 commandments, 248 positives, 365 negatives. There's a lot more don'ts than do's. And that is because a relationship is defined much more by what you don't do because of your respect for somebody than by what you do because of your love for them. But it's a lot more glamorous, a lot more fun to do, to be loving and romantic and do something for somebody. It takes a lot more humility and maturity to not do something. So I'm talking about this with a couple, and the husband says to me, Rabbi, I have to disagree with you. He says, you said you have to have respect in every single relationship, and that without respect, the love isn't even love. I said, yes, that's what I said. He said, I'm sorry, but not in every relationship. I'm like, really? Which relationship does this not apply? He says, with your kids. I said, how old are your kids? He says, he said, his boy is 5 years old. I said, oh, good. Let me ask you a question. You come home from work one day and your little 5-year-old is sitting on the carpet playing, completely engrossed in his Lego or his Buzz Lightyear or whatever. And he just looks so adorable, and you want to just pick him up and show him how much you love him and give him a big hug. And you go to pick him up and cuddle him. And he kind of just like squirms and struggles out of it. He doesn't want you to pick him up. He wants to play. He's engrossed in the middle of something. What do? And he somehow, with a big smile, he tells me, I pick him up anyway and give him a big hug. I said, that's great. But that's love without respect. You don't have respect for him, for his limits. What are his limits? His limits are autonomy over his own body, for starters. A child may not have a right to set their own bedtime, but autonomy over their own body. I don't want affection right now. That's his boundary to call. And you don't respect that boundary. So the love isn't even love. You're not loving him. You're loving yourself. You're not giving. You're giving to get. It looks like giving, but it's really taking. It's very insidious. Daddy's supposed to come home. He's supposed to bring the energy into the home. He's supposed to give the positive vibes, not come and take it. So it's like the famous Rabbi, I forget his name now. It's skipping my mind. But he said, Rabbi Torsky, his name was, of blessed memory. He said, when people say, I love chocolate, yeah, would you jump into a freezing lake to rescue a bar of chocolate? You don't want to treat the chocolate with love. You want it to give you love. You want to take from it. You don't want to give to it. So love is for giving, not for taking. But if you don't have respect in place, so then your love is all about self-love. So we need to have boundaries. We need to have respect. And when we have respect, then the love is love. If I, for example, come home a couple hours late from work for dinner without calling my wife and letting her know, but I've got a bouquet of roses with me, that's called no respect, a lot of love. How do you think it's going to go down? Is my wife going to feel loved because of the bouquet of roses? Is she going to take those roses from me? She's going to tell me where to put those roses, and it's not going to be in the vase, right? So giving is encroachment. Giving is invasive, or can be. Every form of giving is ultimately racked with selfishness, except for one form of giving. There's only one form of giving that's not inherently selfish, that's actually respectful, and that is giving someone space, backing off. It's a lot harder to back off than it is to move in. So I was recently shown a letter from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, of blessed memory. There's this rabbi, Rabbi Moshe Yitzchak Hecht. He's an ambassador of the Rebbe to New Haven, Connecticut. And he writes to the Rebbe, this is in the 80s, I believe, that I cannot go on, I cannot maintain my rabbinical duties. And he actually sends the Rebbe the keys to the school that he had founded. In other words, he's telling the Rebbe, I'm out. It's yours. I can't do this anymore. You got to find a replacement for me. And so all of that, what I just told you, is not public. But the following response that I'm going to share with you that the Rebbe wrote back to him is public. And the Rebbe, in his classic style, writes as follows. He says, you say that you cannot go on and that you need me to do it all for you. But before you have called out, I've already responded, and I've already done as per his request, and Moshe Yitzchak Hecht has already been sent. This is the Rebbe writing to Moshe Yitzchak Hecht, understand. However, continues the Rebbe, it's apparent from your letter that you've never met him. Therefore, my only advice to you is to get to know my Hecht, and from then on, all of your conflicts will be resolved. So why do I find this letter so beautiful? I think the Lubavitcher Rebbe was very well known for his love of Jews. Everyone has heard of at least one of the thousands of stories. You know how much the Rebbe loved Jews and how much he taught us to love our fellow Jew. But what we don't talk about often enough is the respect that Lubavitcher Rebbe had. The, you can do it. No, you don't need me. No, I'm not going to run in. I'm not going to helicopter parent you neurotically. I'm not going to come rescue you. I'm not going to come shield you from life approach that the Rebbe had. The, you can do this, you're okay. You've got this. There's something immensely respectful about telling a person in crisis, when appropriate, obviously, that no, I don't need to add to the drama by jumping in and getting involved. And as much as that would validate my ego, would make me feel helpful, my ego would love to come and fix your problem. Sometimes the respectful thing to do is to let you have some space. To be able to back off, though, it takes an immensely spiritually healthy person, spiritually mature person. Because to back off, I have to be secure enough in myself. I don't need to be your hero today. I don't need to get points from you today to know who I am, because I know who I am coming into this. And the Kabbalah's tried and tested way of self-validation is to be constantly God-conscious, the opposite of which is self-consciousness. When I'm God-conscious, when I'm conscious of my divine spark and my unique, indispensable role and mission that I was given in this world, that 7 billion other people cannot do, because only I can do the mission that I was given, and that is my identity, then I'm less self-conscious. I'm going to conclude with this, a beautiful explanation that I learned from Rabbi Shais Taub, a teacher, a friend of mine, mentor of mine. And he taught it like this. We all know the famous saying of the 3 questions that Hillel taught. 3 questions that the famous Hillel And for those of you who are not familiar with who he was a famous sage in the times of the Mishnah. And he was famous for, one of the most famous things he was saying, he was famous for, was when somebody came to his colleague, Rabbi Hillel, and asked him, can you please tell me the whole Torah on one foot? In other words, just sum it up for me really quickly. Shammai, who was also known for more Gevurah, and Hillel was known for chesed, stronger in his chesed side. Shammai laughed at him, didn't laugh at him, he actually got upset with him. He said, what, are you making a joke of the Torah? And he sent him flying. Don't try to, I can't give you. Hillel said, when he went to ask Hillel, Hillel responded, I'll tell you the whole Torah on one foot. Don't do one to another what you wouldn't want done to yourself. The rest is all an explanation, commentary. That's how he summed up the Torah. So I'm just giving you some context to the kind of guy this guy Hillel was. So now let's go back to this famous saying that he said. He said, if I'm not for myself, the first question, who will I be? Sorry, who will be if I'm not for myself? The second question is, if I'm only for myself, then what am I? And the third question is, if not now, when? So Rabbi Taubes taught me this beautiful takeaway from this. If I'm not for myself, who will be? A widely misinterpreted saying. Most Jews think that this means when you're standing at the buffet and there's 3 people in line ahead of you and you push ahead of yourself to get the last piece of dessert, if I'm not for myself, who will be? So no, that's not obviously what it's about. It's not about being assertive. What does it mean? If I'm not accountable for my own spiritual growth, who will be? Nobody's going to turn me into the adult that I'm supposed to be. If I'm not for myself, who will be? I can't expect you to give me an identity. I can't expect you to validate me so that I feel worthy. I'm 100% accountable for the person I become. No one else. Not my parents, not my friends, not the system, not the government, not my teachers, not my shul. Only me. If I'm not for myself, who will be? So I need to know that I have a unique godly purpose and mission in this world. And that's who I am. That's the real me. I don't need you or anybody else to give me that sense of identity. So, and I don't say that spitefully, I don't need you. It's not about I don't need you. We all need each other, obviously. It's not that I don't need you to feel okay. And when I understand that, now I can really give. When I have my own sense of self, divine sense of self, godly sense of self. Because when I have a strong sense of self that's rooted in my divine sense of self, once I'm that way, now I can truly give to you, to other people in this world. Because I'm not trying to get when I give to you. I'm not trying to receive a sense of identity. I can give altruistically. I can give for fun and for free. I can truly give, which is our mission in this world, to give. So that's question number 1. Number 2, only then, once I've answered question number 1, can I ask the second question. If I'm only for myself, then what am I? If I'm taking care of my spiritual growth and I'm not giving it to others, and I'm not giving to other people, I should say, I'm all about my own spiritual growth, I'm not sharing with other people, then says Hillel, that's not cool either. Then what am I? I'm only for myself, what am I? But you've got to answer question number 1 before you can even ask question number 2. And I'll tell you why. Because if you try to ask question 2 first, if you try to be a giver before you have a sense of self, if you try to be chesed without any gevurah, without a sense of respect, sense of self, that is when all the drama begins in our lives. That's where all the dysfunction comes from. If you don't know who you really are, then you can't give for fun and for free. You can't give altruistically. So first I need to be accountable for myself. If I'm not for myself, who will be? Second, once I fill myself up, self-care, accountable for my own growth, now I can be a giver. If I'm only for myself, then what am I, right? So now I've got to be a giver. I've got to share everything that I have with the world, with anyone that can benefit from it. Now, third question I can ask, if not now, when? If you ever meet someone who's in a dysfunctional relationship to any degree, the overarching attitude is my life is on hold until this person becomes normal, until they do what they're supposed to be doing in this relationship. My life is on hold because of the way this person is behaving. Classic codependency. I don't have a right to be normal. I don't have a right to be happy because so-and-so is misbehaving. I need to change them first before I can work on myself. And until that's taken care of, I can't have my own life. Okay? So that's a shame. First of all, it's not true. And it's very dysfunctional, and it is one of the greatest blockages to growth. So if not now, when means when does life begin? Now. Right here, right now. My life's not on hold because of your chaos, not the person I'm in a relationship with, not my family, not my community, not the government, not the system, not the city, nobody. I don't have to fix other people before I can start working on myself. In fact, my primary role is to work on myself before I try to help others. I don't have to wait for you to be better for me to live the unique mission that God gave me. So I'll just conclude with this. We sometimes think that if you want to get desired behavior out of people, then it's like, I've got to let you know what you've done wrong. How else are you going to know? I'm only trying to be helpful, we say to ourselves. It's like I'm morally obligated. I'm just trying to be honest to tell you. And if I don't tell you, how are you going to change? But what does my honesty do? Am I being honest for the benefit of that person? Or is it out of selfishness? So it essentially kills relationships and it absolutely destroys them. We shut people down. If somebody gives to you something, don't critique it. Don't critique what they're giving. If you want to get more out of them, the best thing that you can do with what they gave you is to take it, receive it. And if you have someone that doesn't communicate well, don't critique them when they do communicate well. Take it and say thank you. So we think the most powerful prayer in life is please, but it's not. The most powerful prayer is thank you. Life affirming, reality affirming, thank you. And by acknowledging the blessings that we have, we open up channels to receive even more, which is essentially the name of the Jewish people. Yehudim comes from the word hoda'ah, which means thank you, to acknowledge. Or moda'ani means I give thanks, I acknowledge. Who is a Jew? Somebody who's grateful, somebody who's thankful. L'chaim. Thank you very much for having me.
L'chaim and Yeshar Koach, Rabbi Simons. Thank you so much. A lot of great material, so much to unpack, so many just thought-provoking questions. And for those who are on live, I encourage you to stay after the recording ends because we will unpack some of this, no doubt. Thank you all again who are watching, and we will see you next week for our Tiferet empowerment class.